Hello to all the debt warriors listening, and welcome back to another episode of Millennial Debt Domination. I'm your host, Katie Fata. A nonprofit credit counseling company can advise you on your money and debts, help you with budgets, and offer money management workshops. If you're realizing your debt has accumulated more than you can handle, reaching out to a certified credit counselor will help you in the long run. Today, I'll be joined by Don Hicks and Lisa Stecker. Don is the Director of Counseling at Navicore Solutions, and Lisa is a Customer Service Generalist. Both Lisa and Don have extensive knowledge on credit counseling and all the services we provide at Navicore. Lisa, Don, and I will be discussing debt management plans, what you should expect from credit counseling sessions, how you can remain debt-free, and much more. Now, let's get to my interview with Don and Lisa. Hi, Lisa and Don. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you both on to talk about what we do at Navicore, credit counseling, and what can someone expect when they call us, and everything about our credit counseling service. So to start, can you both tell us about yourselves and your roles at Navicore? Lisa, why don't we start with you?
Oh, perfect. So my name is Lisa Marie. I started in the customer service department, which I still am in, but my role has changed just a bit over the years. So I've been here about 5 years now. Again, helping clients as they call in, answering questions, getting information from the creditors about their accounts, reaching out to the creditors with proposals for their information, just a big roundabout, full service way of helping them to start and complete the program.
And what about you, Don?
Okay, well, I'm the director of the counseling department. I'm heading into my 16th year. And my overall role is just the oversight and operations of the counseling department. So those folks that pick up the call or pick up the line and assist clients in need of debt counseling and other areas of counseling, that responsibility or that oversight falls in the counseling department, of which I have the pleasure of managing.
Yeah, and our counseling department is, definitely is the ones who reach, or they're the first people the clients will talk to. So what do you find rewarding about working with our clients? We'll start with Don this time.
Yeah, I have to say, I know the questions about working with our clients, but I think mine is a little bit twofold, and it involves the client, obviously, because it's their feedback, their testimonials, the information that they provide back based on the counseling that they received. It's probably the most rewarding for me to learn from our clients what difference or impact our counselors made. The second part of this, which is even more rewarding or more fulfilling, particularly in the position that I have, is that I get to hear and observe our counselors. And it's, it can't go understated how valuable the role is of a credit counselor and what our counselors do. So I'm highly, highly impressed by their expertise. I'm highly impressed by how they handle clients, more of a human engagement as opposed to service delivery. And that is a very rewarding feeling to know that you have folks that have that conviction in counseling, and what reward they also see in helping clients. So I know this is about the fulfillment of our clients and the services that they get from using and speaking with our counselors. But for me, I think it's a double-edged benefit in terms of reward or fulfillment, as far as I'm concerned, being able to stand back or sit back and hear the impact that our counselors make, and then ultimately the feedback and testimonial we get back from the clients on how well our quality, help them make decisions for their future.
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally agree with you there. I read testimonials all the time, and it's just it is super rewarding to hear all that stuff back. And, Lisa, you're in the customer service department, so you're kind of helping the clients through their process. So what do you find most rewarding about working with the clients?
I love what we do here at Navicore. So it is a feel good type of job
Mhm.
when the clients call in and just they're able to feel comfortable talking about their financial situation. We handle them with dignity to gain their trust, to relieve any anxiety that they may have, any concerns or questions moving forward. This is their finances, and just looking for a little bit of help and being able to hold their hand through that program. It's especially nice when I'm able to see someone start and finish. My favorite call is always that final payoff call and just congratulating the client on their journey and, just seeing them get to that financial health.
Yeah, definitely. And in order for them to get that financial help, they actually need to, they need to start the program and reach out to Navicore. So, how do you know if you would need credit counseling and when should someone reach out to Navicore?
I guess this is specific to a client or their circumstance or
Mhm.
what specific need they have in either unsecured debt management or their own personal finance management. But I will say that in terms of customer services, business ethics, credit counseling agencies that are nonprofit, they'll have the right values and the principles that are in the best interest of the consumer. And that's not to say or suggest that a for-profit agency that provides counseling does not have the consumer's interest in mind. But a nonprofit organization like ours is not selling product or providing services for a business profit. Our focus and purpose is primarily on providing counseling and education to clients and consumers that are in need. One more important, very significant area of credit counseling, because of the work that it involves and encompasses, is finding a nonprofit credit counseling agency that's accredited in the industry. And those that work in that company, those counselors, and counseling capacity, possess the professional certifications to provide credit counseling.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And, though that's being a nonprofit is definitely something someone should look for in a credit counseling company. Where could somebody maybe go to find a credit counseling company, Don?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a couple ways. In our agency, we're in front of just about all client types or consumer types. So there are segments of consumers or clients that are referred to us from third-party
Mhm.
banks and other entities that are recommending or referring clients to our business or our services for us to be able to help. So they may not have necessarily looked or searched for this type of counseling service, but have been in front of us because it's been recommended or referred from a bank or some other means. Those that are looking for help or searching for services like ours can find us online. They can find nonprofit credit counseling agencies online. They can look for those industry accreditations, those that recommend and can refer clients to agencies like ours. There's many means that they're able to kind of look out for agencies like ours. I would say that the folks that might be looking for reasons to reach out for an agency like ours could be very, very broad, and it's not necessarily things that they may be doing wrong that determines that they need help. We focus on a lot of personal finance practices that folks are doing well in and are doing right in. And within those practices, they're challenged with how to manage their unsecured debt. So this is not to suggest that just people in hardship are in need of credit counseling. It's even those that are trying to do the right things and pretty much have the basic budget practices in place, and for whatever means, are having challenges with debt repayment. And I use the word challenge loosely. There's folks that are making minimum payments on credit cards, and the interest is making those balances still increase. So while they may be trying to do the right things and meeting payment terms, it's not changing the outcome of their overall debt. And those are folks that can look at things as indicators where credit counseling may be a benefit for them.
Yeah. And, those people might realize that credit counseling could benefit them, but they might be a little hesitant to reach out to a credit counseling company. So, what advice would you give someone who needs financial help, but they're not sure if they want to make the leap to credit counseling? If you both could give us your opinion on that.
I would say do your research. Again, Don really touched a lot on a lot of the qualities that we encompass.
Mhm.
We have been in business over 30 years. We're a nonprofit organization. We offer all types of financial counseling. Our accreditations, we're affiliated with the NFCC. We're accredited through the Better Business Bureau. So these are things that people would look for when they're searching any type of consumer. So I always say to do your research. There's a lot of different companies out there that are promising debt relief, Sometimes those can be settlements and more damaging to all the hard work that the client has done prior to even coming to us. Like Don had said, many of them are not struggling. They're just keeping their heads barely afloat. So I say, do your research, learn a little bit about the different companies and what they may be offering, and make sure that you're making an educated step. And we're always happy to help when they call and offer information. There's no obligation to continue if they just want some information. And most times we do hear back from those clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. What do you think, Don?
Yeah, I agree with Lisa. The research is a big thing because you kind of prepare yourself to some degree before you reach out for services that are going to be offered. And then you could also certify or validate that based on the research that you've done. The other area that, I know that there's some hesitancy or folks are reluctant sometimes because they might be expecting judgment or an outcome on their circumstances. And this is exactly what our counseling services do to prevent from that feeling or insight. Again, I emphasize or focus on consumers and clients that know within their personal finances what they are doing right. And within those practices, they're still having some kind of difficulty. And if you look at nonprofit credit counseling, particularly agencies like ours at Navicore Solutions, the call to our agency is not necessarily going to put that client in a position or a decision-making stage. We're here to support. Our purpose is to provide education and resources. So if you look at that call or that first call in terms of being a little bit hesitant as a mechanism to get more information and learn options and opportunities that you might have as a consumer within unsecured debt or just your personal finances, sometimes that call, stress or anxiety becomes a little bit more lessened. You're a little bit more open to just learn about what your options are. That's what our counseling service is about. That's the purpose that we serve in terms of being able to support and provide resources for somebody to make a better decision. So clients are contacting us and they'll learn very, very quickly that we're able to provide framework, guidance, and a little bit of recommendations and solutions for them to make decisions on, and that they're not bound to any kind of agreement or product services until they're decided to do so.
Yeah. And speaking of that first initial call, is there a fee to talk to a credit counselor?
At Navicore Solutions, there is a fee for counseling. I should underscore that, though, that our counselors are the ones that are picking up the line. So when you contact Navicore, you're getting a counselor to start counseling sessions initially or immediately. There are cases where we find clients in dire hardship or have financial constraints in paying a fee. And one of the core values of our organization is that we help everybody that contacts us. So there's never going to be a case where we're letting somebody off the line because they can't afford services or they can't pay a counseling fee. So we do have practices in place to reduce or waive fees when needed. The bottom line or the end goal is to provide services as a nonprofit agency to clients that are reaching out to us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, some clients may be confused about what the difference is between a credit repair and credit counseling. Sometimes things aren't so clear and it is hard to differentiate the two. Can you just differentiate the two for the listeners?
Yeah. And, I think you framed it pretty perfectly that it could be complicated. So I'm going to try to make this a very concise outline, and it really can be simplified in scope. In short, or for a concise outline, credit counseling can be considered or is considered more of a resource and education service or product for consumers that may be having trouble managing their debt. That's really it in its own scope. If we take that definition and compare it to what a very general or broad definition of credit repair is, credit repair services focus primarily on the consumers that are in a bad credit situation. It's not to say that those that are using credit counseling aren't also in a kind of a bad credit situation, but credit repair services focus solely on bad credit and trying to make changes to improve that consumer's credit rating. There isn't a great deal of focus on the individual's personal finance. There isn't a great deal of focus in credit repair on the long-standing practices and budgeting that a client or a consumer could manage to better their finances overall, where credit counseling has a specific focus in that area. First, to provide resource and education, and then provide clients with some guideline or solution that may assist with their unsecured debt. And kind of in that scope of credit counseling, the end goal in that respect also does put that client in a better credit worthiness position if that is what their need is. So that if that helps with a comparison or the difference, that's how I would frame the difference between the two.
No, I think that's definitely like a great definition, especially because, credit counseling does provide that education for people to better their overall finances, whereas their pair, kind of just solely focuses on repairing your credit. But yeah, credit counseling, I mean, we provide so many different resources on education and so many tools and just in general, I mean, for free on our website even. But, if someone's really looking to change their finances, if they're really in a bad place, they want to enroll in our debt management plan. So can we kind of discuss what a debt management plan is and how are they custom made for different clients, Don?
Sure, they are. Yeah, the answer is yes, they are custom made. They're specific to the client because the program's designed by their specific accounts and those repayment terms for that individual client. And maybe I can wrap a debt management plan up in a small description by just framing that it is a creditor approved repayment program, which focuses on unsecured debt. And in most cases, it's generally the credit cards. The plan is structured in a way to pay off high interest unsecured debt. It is basically a monthly repayment program structured to fit within the specific budget of a client until that debt is paid in full.
Yeah, that's a perfect definition, I think, of what a debt management plan is and, how it's custom made for each client. So what can someone expect from their first counseling session with Navicore?
Well, it brings me back to the thing that is most rewarding about our agency and our counseling and just credit counseling in general. But I can share with you what a client can expect from counseling with our agency and speaking with our counselors. And to be honest, I think it first starts with non-judgmental interaction with a counselor. It starts with how the consumer is going to be treated when they contact our offices. And that, for me, is the most important factor in credit counseling, because it's going to be that engagement that has the impact on whether or not some of the things that we talk about are going to be helpful for the client. But before we do that, we have to hear from the client. We have to listen to the client, which is also unique in its own services. A lot of service delivery, especially when it has to do with managing debt or paying back debt, is driven by regulations, guidelines, terms, conditions that a client has to follow. So the delivery is being driven toward the client to listen and hear what they need to manage going forward, where ours is the opposite. After picking up the line and explaining what we do as an organization and how we're able to help them, the call's turned over to the client. And the biggest part of what we need to do is listen to the client's needs, which, in my opinion, is very unique in terms of service delivery. So the call is handed over to the client to share their hardship or their circumstances or the goals that they're looking for in this call or their counseling session or in debt management or in their own budget management, which is a very unique but human interactive exchange. So that's what a client can expect. They can expect to be treated with compassion in a call. They can expect to share their circumstances. And then from there, the client can expect a credit counselor to provide fundamental approaches to getting their budget and personal finances back in the direction that the client can benefit from going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And how you just said we provide them with things to help their budget and help them to go forward even after the debt management plan. So we kind of touched this on a little bit earlier, but what specific resources other than the debt management plan are provided to help customers pay off their debt? And not only that, but to stay out of debt and keep their finances on track for years after the plan.
Yeah, good question. I mean, the resources can be extremely broad in scope, and our agency has hundreds of them. So in addition to just the benefits of debt management, which is a solution for only the unsecured debt, right? Our counselors are making recommendations that are specific to that client and what plans they have for their future. One of our most common specific resources helps in the area of housing and living expenses, how that's managed, and we call it budgeting steps and tips. And these are access things that we have online and on our website that clients or consumers can access and get from. But from counseling and completing a debt management plan, or even while you're on the debt management plan, we provide broad scope of recommendations, those that are specific to the client's budget and circumstances, but things that are also just consumer knowledge in the area of personal finance that cover important customer or consumer topics such as credit card fraud, dealing with losing a job, grocery shopping tips, which sounds like kind of small in scope, but in its kind of entirety of a budget serves a very, very significant area in saving money. Areas like identity theft, refinancing a home, saving for household emergencies, steps to establish or reestablish your credit, trouble paying mortgage. And then there's just hundreds of other or additional resources that we provide in counseling. And again, these things are really based or tailored toward the scenarios that we have within the client's circumstances. So the reasons why clients are contacting us and things that kind of embody the issues that they're having are where our counselors focus on in terms of providing resources that are appropriate.
Yeah, and those resources are so important for all of our clients. And we are still here for all the clients while they're on their debt management plan. So I guess we can kind of talk about what people can expect while they're on the plan through our customer service department. So how can clients reach out to Navicore for help while they're on the debt management plan? And what can they expect from customer service calls, Lisa?
Well, clients can reach out to us. Our website is very useful. There is a way to send a message to us that way. If they want to change their payment date or just have a question, they can also email us any copies of statements that they want us to review, or just place a simple request for a callback or a balance update. At any time, we are available. We from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until 8 p.m. on Wednesdays Eastern Standard Time. So we are available for them to call in. Hopefully, depending on the client's schedule, they can get a hold of one of the representatives, or again, they could email, they could even send text messages to us and we could get back to them.
Yeah, definitely. And, what can someone expect when they reach out to the customer service department?
Yeah, so they'll reach one of our representatives that can answer their questions. If it's more of a detailed concern or something that needs more further review, that will get assigned to a representative who will follow up with the client once the answers are provided, or just, again, civil review of the statement, making sure that everything is still being applied, the benefits of our program, such as the lowered interest, that there aren't any fees being applied if they aren't part of their policy. Whatever their nature may be for the call, representative will be able to help them, or at least get the information to them within a timely manner.
Yeah. And, are there any reasons clients should reach out to a customer service department specifically?
Sure. If the creditor is calling, I always say, find out the nature of the call. And then if you want to get back to us, we can make a conference call with them and see what the concern may be, or it could just be a friendly, update call. They could reach out to us with concerns, questions, updates, just say hello if they'd like. We're always happy to take the call. We would definitely handle their situation with empathy and as delicate as possible, and know that they can trust us to get their concerns addressed.
Yeah. And, I'm just thinking if a customer or a client calls and they're kind of struggling with the program and they're not sure if they want to continue, is there something, how does our customer service handle that?
Excellent question. So, it's we talked about earlier, it is difficult to take that first step and leap into credit counseling and go through with that intake session. So a lot of times, that can be overwhelming. So having something else happen additionally, whether it be a loss of income or job or sickness, we always encourage the client to stay in touch with us, talk to us about what's going on so that we can help navigate them through this difficult time or whatever they may be struggling with. There are other additional resources, as Don had mentioned earlier, that the clients can get online, but we would absolutely direct them to what can help their current situation. There are additional programs as well that many folks may not be aware of. So I always say to give a call. You're never alone. We're always here to help.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes just talking to someone and knowing someone's there to support you is really all the person needs.
Most times, it is just listening with, a trusted ear. We've heard a lot of different things. A lot of us are also clients ourselves. So it's not much of a surprise, to hear what's going on, especially over the past few years. There's been a lot of different situations that have caused some hardships with clients. So it's nice that they know they can call in and get these resources to help get them back onto their feet when it was already a little shaky.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something good to point out that, we are always here for the clients and we want to see them finish the program. So I think I just want to a common question about credit counseling is, does it lower your credit score, Lisa?
Great question. We actually do not report to any of the credit bureaus or credit agencies. The creditors do that. So if you're coming into the program and, as we said, there's many different scopes of clients. Some folks are, in a really bad spot. Others are doing their best and managing to stay afloat. So if your accounts are current and your credit is in good shape, it can only go up from there. We're making timely payments to your creditors for the agreed upon amount. So you will see your credit become improved. It will not lower your credit. Credit may be affected for folks that haven't made some payments or already past due, but that's why they come over to us. We help them to understand how it's reported and what they can do to help their score.
We talked a lot about credit counseling and, it's one of the counseling services we do provide, but what other counseling does Navicore provide, Don?
Navicore has a scope of counseling services. It's very, very broad. We provide budget counseling. In budget counseling, what I mean by that is just, kind of focusing on just budget management, how to improve a budget. That carries its own kind of counseling approaches. From there, the debt management program can be developed if that's a solution that is specific to that client. But we also provide housing counseling, student loan counseling, bankruptcy counseling, bankruptcy, debtor education, and we consider financial education part of our counseling scope. That is the basis or the foundation of what we do. The foundation of our credit counseling rests with consumer education. So our services are supported by educational material that we provide to consumers. So that is also a focus, and we put that kind of in our line of services by being able to provide educational material to clients that are in need. In fact, I think we average somewhere in the neighborhood or nearly 10,000 requests a month for education and assistance, which is free to anyone in need.
Yeah, that education can really help people remain debt-free after they've completed the program. Do you guys have any other ways people can remain debt-free after they've completed the program? We could start with you, Lisa.
As I had mentioned, my favorite call is that final call. Like, I think I'm getting close, or my balances seem pretty low on the statements. When they do finish the program, I always recommend, if their payment was $200, and even though that was a struggle, they were managing to do that payment, put half of it away. You're still a step ahead. You'll be able to create this small emergency savings fund that they'd be able to do whatever they need to do with. When they do discuss about possibly opening up another line of credit, my suggestion is always try to go to your local bank, who you bank with. You have a relationship with them. You could start by getting just a small card for emergencies, but it's unnecessary to go and put yourself in that situation again if need not be. Most of our clients have called because there has been, let's call it a life change, whether it be a medical issue or a loss of a job. It's not just frivolous behavior that brought them here. So for the most part, they have worked hard to get to the end of the debt management program and are not looking to turn back. But we do have return clients that, again, circumstances may happen and they come back to us for help and education, and we help them to get back onto their feet again. I would say just not to, just be careful with your expenses. Try to remain diligent and not using credit if you don't need to. And when you do, just establish a small line with a trusted bank.
Yeah, that's some great advice. Don, do you have any other advice other than that?
Yeah, I'd support 100% what Lisa mentioned, because I think a good deal of the progress is managed in our customer services department. The overarching backdrop is going to be how well the consumer is prepared within their own budget practices and planning, and in ways, to Lisa's point, that take into account factors that are outside of their control, such as a sudden loss of income or a health-related issue that could affect the budget. The better prepared they are prior to something like that, or the habits and the practices that they've picked up while they've been on a program that have improved or changed their lives, are going to put them in a much better situation for circumstances like that. The other factor is that those that have completed a program will have initially started by establishing an action plan from their initial counseling. So when they were with the counselor, they received a client action plan that encompassed a number of things that are going to help improve their budget, not only immediately, but in months to come, and in some cases, years to come. Within that, while they're on the program, they have the support and resource of the customer services department. And to Lisa's point, those that are contacting on a regular basis or us reaching out on the progress of that program is helping that client with those practices. So overall, when they've completed a debt management program, within their action plan that they started years prior and the support that they have from customer services here at Navicore Solutions, that client will have put themselves in pretty good practices that for the most part does manage their finance or personal finance in a much better way going forward. And of course, there may be cases where they're return clients, and generally those are for circumstances that are outside of their control, but they will have established or fundamental practices in place to kind of get themselves back on track.
I guess to kind of wrap everything up today, how can reaching out to a nonprofit credit counseling company change someone's life? I kind of want to hear both of your opinions. So Don, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this is probably part of our service that stands out the most for me. I think it's also the most rewarding for our credit counselors to know that the counseling and the debt management plan or program has changed someone's life. And the debt management program in itself is really just a byproduct. It's significant, no doubt. It changes the client's life in terms of counseling or being debt-free or having the burden of unmanageable debt lifted from them. So the debt management plan in its own right does provide that kind of debt-free, stress-free outcome. But personally, I have to say that the psychology within our counseling, the impact that our counselors have, the engagement that our clients have with our counselors, and ultimately those that complete a program and are working with our customer service department, the support that they get and the impact they have from the folks that work internally here at Navicore Solutions with their best interest at mind is probably the single most important factor that inspires or encourages them to make those changes. We've often received testimonial feedback. In fact, it's something that I talk to folks that are interested in joining our organization. And I mention this because it's important for folks that want to do this type of job. I know I'm getting a little bit off track, but it has a back-end meeting that you should understand what impact counselors play for consumers or clients that contact us, and the significance it has in just a 45-minute to an hour conversation with a counselor if those changes are made and that is in the interest of the client. I'd underscore that by the support and ongoing interaction they have with customer services that's dedicated to the success of clients completing a plan. So for me, it is the counseling interaction, the human interaction that inspires to make clients feel that they can make a change. They have a change in mindset. They see or foresee the future a little bit differently, and they put practices in place based on that. And it is very common or very frequent while the debt management plan, gets you debt free, the testimonials or the feedback that we do get from clients is exactly in the question that you just asked. I mean, they use the exact words by saying, you've changed my life. And I would say in some cases we've had feedback. It's in our corporate office and documented on testimonials that in some cases clients have said that we've saved their life based on some of the hardship and turmoil that our clients have had to deal with or endure prior to contacting our services. There's no doubt that the program eventually gets you debt free, but for me, it's the observation of our counselors and the interaction they have with our clients and the counseling that's provided with compassion and customer services that carries that same compassion and empathy that inspires clients to make changes that change their future.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great point. It impacts us as much as it impacts them. And, like you said, with the testimonials, I have on our social media, we do a testimonial every week and we have so many to pick from because there's just been so much awesome feedback on people who have completed the program. And, it definitely has changed their lives. So what do you think, Lisa? How can reaching out to, a nonprofit credit counseling company change their lives?
I think a lot of it also touches on part of our earlier conversation. It's the resources and education. So, you're at a point where you're doing the best that you can, and it's just not enough. So now I'm taking the time to reach out to a company. So for reaching out to a nonprofit company like Navicore Solutions, we have your best interest at heart. We want to see you succeed. The better you do on the program, the better we're going to feel about what we're doing for you and what we do in our everyday responsibilities. So it definitely is life-changing. Again, for some folks, they're just at that bottom line where they don't know where else to turn or where to go. And just giving them these resources, being a listening ear, a caring person that they're able to discuss their problems with without any judgment. We handle them again with integrity and dignity, and just letting them know we're all here to help you. That there's no shame in giving us a call, and the reward at the end of the program when they have finished, and even when they haven't. Sometimes I'll get calls within the first few months, and it's absolutely warming. Sometimes I'll have to mute myself because I get a little choked up listening to them. It's very real. Just hearing someone say, I was able to order pizza tonight for the kids because I had just that extra $25 freed up, and in a better situation. And just something like that may seem like not such a big deal to the everyday person, but for someone who's struggling to be able to do such a treat and for the family in such a way, and still being smart about it, and they didn't go and, buy a new TV. It was just, let's treat ourselves to something that we haven't been able to do. And it really can. It is life-changing.
Those were two such great examples of how it could change someone's life. And I love those stories. So I think we covered a lot of the basics of what to expect from credit counseling, what to expect during, before, and after the program. So thank you both for being here and taking your time out of your day to talk to me today. I enjoyed having you both on the podcast.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it as well.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you both again. We really covered everything you need to know about credit counseling in today's episode. Dawn was able to provide some great information regarding the debt management plan and some basics of credit counseling. When selecting a credit counseling company such as Navicore Solutions, do your research to see which is right for you. An accredited nonprofit credit counseling organization will set you up with a personalized debt management plan. As Lisa said, once you're on the plan, Navicore is still here to help you along the way. If at any point you feel like you're struggling, you can reach out to our customer service department to help you get through. Reaching out to a nonprofit credit counseling company can change your life in so many ways. If you're thinking of reaching out, don't hesitate, because making that one call can put you on the right financial track. With that being said, that wraps up another episode of Millennial Debt Domination. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate and review us there. I'll talk to you next time, Gen Zers, Millennials, and everyone else listening. Bye.